Hello and welcome to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and
the Russell Hampton Company. They are the number one printer for Rotary. They can print anything. They got a bunch of, they've given us
We got swag in the studio.
We got some tumblers. We got cutting boards, some hats, quality stuff if your business needs it, your club. And
or if
check them out.
If your wife needs her big can to go
Stanley
into
mug.
Stanley mug to go into the,
They can print
car. Yep, they can print it. Put your logo on there.
We are so happy to have all of you joining us again today. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
Our guest today is Deb McCaslin. She is a fellow Rotarian out of Nebraska. On our episode today, Deb really dove into partnerships. That was really kind of the theme for us for this conversation. We asked her to share stories, and she 110% delivered on
Great
that.
Great storyteller.
well, and so much and she embodies the mission of this show, which is, connecting servants through stories of service. So it was just amazing to hear those amazing stories, specifically on how they really championed a major project. And I'll tease that. You got to stay on the show to figure out what the project was and how they did it. And it's pretty amazing.
And as kind of a piggyback off of that teaser, what you'll find is that there's just if this isn't the first time that you have tuned in to Searching for Service, what you're going to find is a lot of commonalities and connection points to what Deb discusses in our episode today and some of our previous episodes as well. So to Joe's point, stay tuned.
Well, and I think too, really quick, is service is not complicated, but it's specific to the needs of who's being served. Yep. And I think Deb does a magical job of connecting that and their organization and their partnerships on pivoting. There's some major pivots that happen, and I think that you guys are all going to really enjoy this interview.
I agree.
Well, you're going to have to wait through the break, but it was a fun interview and really inspirational, I thought.
Yeah.
I agree. We will see you here in just a few minutes. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. We'll be back.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build good? Will it better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? When we pay it forward, it will be returned.
Join Rotary to serve your community and the world with honesty, fairness, and goodwill. Our 4-way test guides our actions every day. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? These values underpin our commitment to making a positive impact on the world. Learn more about your local Rotary Club and stop searching and start serving. And the song you're hearing right now was performed by the Rotary Club of Saskatoon, Natuna in Canada.
When we pay it forward, it will be returned.
Show off your Rotary Club spirit with Russell Hampton Company. They're the world's largest provider of licensed Rotary items. They make everything like hats, jackets, shirts, banners, and more. Russell Hampton Company is a fourth-generation family-owned and operated business founded in 1920 by a member of the first-ever Rotary Club in Chicago, Club Number 1. When you call Russell Hampton Company, you get more than just a company. You get a fellow Rotarian-owned business who's there to help. No matter if you're ordering for your entire club or just yourself, no order is too big or too small. Not sure what your club needs? Their team members can help and customize just about anything. They live by the Rotary 4-way test. They also give 10% of all purchases back to Rotary to support Rotary's global work. So remember, Russell Hampton Company is your one-stop shop for all things Rotary. Learn more at bestclubsupplies.com. That's bestclubsupplies.com. Russell Hampton Company, Rotarians serving Rotarians.
For decades, eradicating polio worldwide has been Rotary's cornerstone cause. We are incredibly close to ridding the globe of this virus, but we need everyone's help to get us to the goal. World Polio Day is October 24th. Please consider making a new donation to Polio Plus or increasing your already generous giving. Go to endpolio.org to be a part of this historical eradication of polio. You will help get vaccinations to the most remote parts of our world and help fulfill a promise we made to end polio now. 2 drops and it stops. Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and
Russell Hampton Company. They're the #1 printer for Rotary, and they can help any of your businesses. Check out some of the swag we have here, and we thank them for their support.
Quality's amazing.
Our hosts, we've got Kelly Kirk.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
And we are welcoming Deb McCaslin, fellow Rotarian. Welcome, Deb. We're happy to have you.
I'm so pleased to get here, and I'm wearing Russell Hampton swag.
There you go.
There you
Are
go.
you really?
Yeah, your sponsor.
I love it.
It's funny you started giggling, so I understand now why. Well, Deb, let's just take some time to get to know you. So you are a fellow Rotarian. Which Rotary Club is it that you're a part of?
I'm part of Broken Bow Area Rotary. Is located in the Sandhills of Nebraska, District 5630.
Okay.
Nebraska.
Wonderful. And how long have you been a Rotarian?
Oh gosh, 20 plus years. It's it's kind of funny. I've had several careers, and my last one I think is the most special. And I literally retired into Rotary and absolutely love it. I just can't quite get enough of it.
Huh.
That is so fun to hear. Before we dive into that, I want to find out how you found Rotary. How did you get into Rotary?
It's a story in itself. I was spent 20 plus years as a classical musician. I literally played oboe all over the world in orchestras. And then after my husband retired from the Air Force, we moved back to our hometown in Broken Bow, Nebraska. And I started working at the newspaper. I was their managing editor, and then I was there for 18 years and became their publisher. But the local Rotary Club kept inviting me to their Monday meetings, not because they wanted me, but they wanted to be in the newspaper. Eventually, they found out that I was really hard to get rid of. And so I joined that club because I kept going to their meetings and seeing what they stood for and their service projects and all of the focuses. And I can really tag into service above self. I think that says it all.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up there.
That's always so
Love
cool
it.
to hear how people get to Rotary, because the journey seems to be different for everybody. And, it seems like that it was kind of in your blood even before that too. Just the service aspect of it. And it was just a wonderful vehicle for you to, be part of your community and serve.
The fact that my grandfather's a past Rotary Club president probably didn't hurt anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So it truly is in the blood, huh?
It really is.
That's common among some of our guests. It's very common. And if they weren't Rotarians, they were serving, their family was serving in different ways for years and years and years.
Or they
prior.
were part of youth exchange
Yeah.
And then it's usually vocational. Like, they join it for professional connections. And those are usually the common ones.
I think when they grabbed me, I was just never, ever going to leave. Because I kind of bleed blue. I love it. Even though I'm a Nebraska Cornhusker and it does come out red. I absolutely love it. And I am so tickled to be here today. When Lloyd texted me, it took me about 30 seconds to respond. So
that's
you
great.
very, very much.
Have you had an opportunity to listen to the show previously?
I have. And you guys do really good work. You've got some fun podcasts out there. You've had some things some literally service organizations that I didn't know about. So
cool.
thank you for the educational element of this as well.
Wow, thanks for the plug, too.
Yeah, no kidding.
This is not a paid endorsement.
Careful, it might be.
Yeah, Deb, before you know it, you might just be in partnership here with Searching for Service. So
don't ask very hard, I'd say yes.
Well, we do like 5-star reviews on our.
Excellent.
Well, I know that we have you on the show because we want to talk about partnerships and how Rotary really fosters amazing partnerships and how you've been part of so many of those partnerships. So, let's start to talk about some of those partnerships.
Well, one project I know is more recent that Lloyd had talked to us about was the Girls Empowerment Rotary Project in Zimbabwe. So will you tell us how that started and a lot more about it?
Sounds like there's a good story behind it, Deb.
There is. Oh, my gosh. This is when I truly believe that I found my Rotary calling. I had traveled with an organization called Alliance for Smiles. This is while I was in Rotary, tagged in with this particular organization quite a number of years ago and had done a lot of mission trips with them. Alliance for Smiles is just an amazing organization. They travel mainly into third world or progressing world countries to repair cleft lips and palates. Now, I have zero medical skills, but I am a photographer, and I can, I think, turn a good story once in a while. The journalism ran in the blood for a lot of years. So they asked me to travel with them, and I went all over China, and I'd been to Ghana and several, multiple places with them. And then I ended up on a mission trip to Zimbabwe. And it was an exceptionally difficult trip. And it was difficult because when we arrived, the line was so long with families who were very, very much wanted the repair for these beautiful children. And I'd like to emphasize that I'd spent a lot of years living overseas. I lived in Taiwan, I lived in the Philippines, I lived in Europe. And so when I would travel, I always expected to see different things. I expected to eat different food. The smells would be different. Sometimes the shades of the colors of our skin would be different, the shapes of our eyes, our languages, how we carry ourselves would be different. But the thing that struck me over and over and over again with Alliance for Smiles was not our differences, but how alike we are. Moms just want the best for their children. And I don't care what language you speak or what country you're located in. You just, and moms and dads are the same everywhere. And in Zimbabwe, we had this huge line of moms and uncles and grandparents wanting these life-changing surgeries for their children. Well, my job was to interview the families as they came through. I had this checklist of questions to ask, basic questions. How old are you? How did you hear about the program? What was your diet? What have you been eating? What do you wish for your children? Not medical questions because I'm not medical, but real life human questions. And we were backlogged. And so the nurses ahead of me who did the medical exam said, Deb, hold up the line. Just start talking. Find a couple of good stories in that line. Just hold up the line. And so a mom sat down with this beautiful child, and I asked her this question. And I had time because they were, so I started so I asked her to tell me about her village. And she explained how the chief had encouraged her to come. And then I asked the question, well, tell me about your water. Where do you get your water? And she said, I get it from the river. And then I said, do you go swimming in the river? Do you bathe your kids in the river? And she gave me this, I can't believe you just asked me this really dumb question look. And it was a look that I don't think I've received since I was maybe 11 years old, and it came from my mom. Really, you are absolutely the most stupid person I've ever met in my entire life look. And I went, and she goes, and she looks at me, she goes, you don't get it. You absolutely do not understand. And I said, I don't think I do understand, but will you please explain it to me so I can understand? And she says, no, we don't swim in the river. Number one, there's things that'll eat you in the river. Number two, why would I waste such a precious resource? Do I bathe my children? Never. Do I wash my clothes? Never. I walk 2 hours each direction to get water. That's what you don't get. And that whole conversation really changed me. And I think I started to become more in tune with these wonderful people that we were trying to help. And afterwards, I kicked off with the nurses and went to Victoria Falls. And the nurses wanted to go shopping, and I hate to shop, so that's not my thing. And there was this sign on the wall that said, Rotary Club meets here. And I went, I'm going to go to the Rotary Club meeting. That sounds wonderful. And I went to the Rotary Club meeting and met the most wonderful people. And they spent the afternoon running me around the area of Victoria Falls, showing me all the fantastic projects this club did. And we sat down and started talking about needs. And I absolutely loved the conversation, became Facebook friends and WhatsApp chat friends with these folks, went back and told my husband all about it and said, we've got to go visit. 6 months later, we returned and we sat down and started talking global grants. This was pre-COVID. And we started working on a grant for the girls. And then COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And when COVID hit, the same club came back and said, you know, this grant is not our most pressing need right now. Our most pressing need is water and food stability. So we dug wells and we built community gardens. And then after COVID passed, we started back on this path to empowering girls. And during this period of time, Norm and I made several trips back. And then a trip, about 1.5 years ago, we sat down with the health minister of the province and the educational minister of the province. And the Victoria Falls Club really, and with the help of their government leaders, came up with this beautiful project. And I absolutely love it. The project is just short of $70,000. It's a global grant. We've received it. And we couldn't do it without partners. We have partners from all over the U.S. and India and Africa and just really worldwide partners in this who contributed toward it, and individuals. And the project puts sewing machines into 123 high schools. And it teaches the girls how to make washable sanitary pads. And an interesting thing is that you start talking about this, and I've done so many club presentations that some of the guys at the back of the room will kind of start to scrunch down.
just as the guys on the show are doing right now.
This is
you can just see them getting uncomfortable.
Especially when I talk about what the girls were doing. And during one of the visits, I sat down with some of the teen girls and I said, well, how do you handle it? Because sanitary pads are so expensive and they don't break down, you know, the one-time use ones. So they use leaves, they use grass, they use, okay, guys, just brace for it. My husband has to brace every time I go into this part of the spiel. They use dried cow dung. You squeeze out the moisture and you dry it in the sun because
it's dedication.
Is very porous. But the girls also get sick.
Oh my
because
gosh.
It's full of bacteria.
Yeah.
So this just became a wonderful project to do. And I love the elements that it's going to bring into the schools. Because we also, I'm an old economic developer. So we did the survey of different businesses, the safari camps, the hotels, all this other kind of stuff, the travel agency. What do you need? Who would you hire? What skills can we bring in? Because it doesn't do you a bit of good to teach a skill unless there's a job on the other end.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were telling us, send someone who can sew. I think we have a win-win, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we put the sewing machines into the schools. We teach entrepreneurship skills. The health industry, the health department in Zimbabwe for this Hwange district is sending in the nurses to teach hygiene and all this other kind of stuff. HIV is hugely prevalent throughout sub-Saharan Africa. This will give the education that's needed to combat that. And then we're sending in folks to teach entrepreneurship, business skills, Excel spreadsheets, all this other kind of stuff. And we're just really excited about it. The grant is a 5-year lifespan because it is a Rotary International grant, and you have to track your statistics for 5 years. And I'm hugely excited about these statistics. Estimated impact first time around is 6,000 girls.
Wow.
So statistics right now say that if you can keep a girl in high school, how many generations down that will impact. So if you think of these 6,000 first-generation girls, the impact it'll have for that next generation and the next generation and the next generation, I believe it's absolutely life-changing.
Deb, can we go back to something really quick?
You bet.
First of all, you're a musician. You worked in newspaper. You worked in what haven't you done? But something else.
I'm only 5'2". I can't throw basketballs.
Well, we all have limitations.
I have an athletic bone in my body, and I hate crafts.
We all have limitations.
Yes.
But something I wanted to just notice about this is when the pandemic hit, and you had this project that you guys really wanted to work on, and how you pivoted to the needs that they needed at that moment. That was obviously there's a lot to unpack here on this project, but I wanted to really give you a lot of credit, and because you said something, and I can't remember if it was off air or if it was on air, that, servicing the needs is ultimately the highest and best thing that we can do as a service organization or in service. And for whatever reason, when you mentioned, hey, we had this great project for these girls kind of teed up, but then COVID happened and they needed food and water. And so we really pivoted our projects towards food and water. I mean, that's a lot of credit to you to pivot that to what they needed at the time, and then being able to go back to the project that, you had the passion for. So I think there's a lot to be said about that, and going, what do you need versus what we want to do?
Yeah.
Joe, this was a blessing in disguise.
It's my middle name.
Really? Because
Oh my gosh.
when COVID hit, we had a different project that we were working on at that point in time. And I think we ended up with a much better project at the end.
Sure.
But it's a lot about partnership, and it's about trusting your partners. It's about asking the people on the ground who are there every day, and they see with Victoria Falls, I cannot say enough good things about this particular club. They had partnered with the churches and the different service organizations in their area. And when the schools shut down in Zimbabwe, so often that the kids weren't getting any meals at all, because when the tourist industry folded, incomes folded, everything just collapsed on them. So this particular group, they were feeding almost 5,000 kids every single day.
Holy smokes.
And you think a club of 30 putting together the partners in their area to feed that kind of numbers.
Wow.
I was so proud of them. And when they came on, they said, would you be willing to partner with us and to drill 2 wells?
Yeah.
And it was easy. And we didn't really have time to do grants or global grants because it needed done now. So it was about putting the feelers out for other Rotary clubs and just saying, we want to do a water project. Do you have any money left over? And so they contributed to that. And so the last time we were there, we were able to visit these wonderful wells and see these community gardens. And the community gardens are terrific because a certain amount of the produce goes back to the community. Another section of that produce is sold. So it becomes income for that community as well as feeding the community.
You mentioned that the project shifted from your work that you did during COVID, so during these wells and the food.
Yes, it
so
did.
in what way did it shift the project in terms of focus or scale, that you felt like it really improved the project?
The project we were going to do before was we were going to outfit a youth women's center.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The desks, the chairs, all that kind of stuff. Because as you all know, within a global grant, we can't build buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We can go in and we can redesign a building, we can update a building, we can make a building better, we can outfit a building, but we can't hire people and we can't build buildings.
You know, it's funny. I did not know that, so I am learning quite a bit right now.
So I had to learn a lot. It was a huge learning curve. And so after this came aboard and we did the wells, that's when they came and said, you know, they were able to build the building and outfit it through a different organization. They said, but now what we really need to do is to focus on the girls. And they knew that they could touch a hot button with me on that one too. So it's knowing your partners, knowing their passions, and knowing their skill sets. You know, and what's really cool is about having a committee on both sides of this. You know, I don't even know the mileage difference between these two. All I know is it's a really heck of a long plane ride. But knowing, you know, we have certain skill sets on our committee. They have skill sets on theirs. And you just tap into the skill sets. I absolutely love it. And having fantastic foundation chairs who know how to put things together and put it together right. So it's got the sustainability. It's got the accountability.
So then just to recap, so it got you to the specific teaching these girls these skills to create reusable or washable sanitary or sanitary
pads.
Okay.
Sanitary pads. It's okay, Joe. You can say it.
And so, because that's interesting, because you went from we want to build the building to we want to give the girls the greatest opportunity to attend this building, because to your point, without the sanitation ability or sanitary ability, they wouldn't even be able to go.
Well, and it's taking the project to where the girls are.
Yes.
Because Zimbabwe is, I know there's going to be somebody who knows their geography so much better than I do that's going to correct me really fast. But they've got provinces as opposed to states.
Sure.
And this is going to go through one complete province. And so it's 123 schools. I think there are 133 schools in this entire province. But it's going to take, and these schools are a long ways apart. Mm-hmm. Hours of driving to get from one to the next. So it's going to take the project to where the girls are. And by the way, of these 123 schools, only 3 have electricity. And I think only 5 or 6 have water.
That's so fascinating.
So our initial dream of this project also put in bathrooms, but we also knew that it was going to take so long to get there. Mm-hmm. We needed to pare it down. And so we're going to have several projects. And the first project is putting in these pedal sewing machines.
Okay. I love it. And just really quick, I think it's important for our listeners, as they're formulating their projects, as they're thinking about the things that they want to do, as they're serving on projects, it's so helpful to hear how you guys adapted real time to need. And, you started out going one way and then all of a sudden the need changed and you adapted your positioning. And you kind of, what would you say is you kept as your kind of North Star in all of this to make sure that you're continually serving that specific need, that whatever that need is, you know what I mean? You're kind of staying on your North Star versus getting distracted or getting pulled down to another rabbit hole.
I've never been asked that question before. It's a great question. I think my North Star has got to be being able to do something that will transition down a generation.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
We're not coming in and doing something that is it's the difference between teaching a kid to fish and giving the kid to fish a fish so he can eat tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've had so many sewing clubs that have called me and said, send me a pattern. Can we make these pads and we'll send them with you? And I sit back and go, no. Because that's not teaching the skill. Yeah. And it's not teaching the entrepreneurial skill. It's not teaching the business skills and not bringing the health education in. It's how do you teach the skill?
That's I'm just sitting here going, that is incredibly insightful because so often, I mean, and you hear about it in service projects all the time. You know, they're like, oh, well, they need water. Let's go build a well, and then we'll just leave.
No, you can't leave. You can't leave.
And you think it solves the problem, but, you know, and you hear it in a lot of the projects that we have on the show and like people that we have on the show, is there is that sustainability and that community commitment to sustaining that project and that buy-in, and that's what really gets there. I love that answer. Man, that's a huge takeaway of like, we stayed to our North Star that was, we wanted to focus on something that impact generations past the initial generation. That should be Rotary motto.
There's another important element in this, and it's something that I know that I truly believe in, my club truly believes in, and Rotary truly believes in, and maybe to a fault. And that is the most amazing things in the world get done when you don't care who gets credit.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And,
so well
and the
said.
credit really here has got to go to the people on the ground who live there. These are their neighbors. These are their friends. And these are their daughters.
Yeah.
That they want to. And the impact goes very deep because of the HIV rate, so many of these young girls are not being raised by their parents because their parents are no longer living. And so you've got to keep the girls in school. And in Zimbabwe, school is free up until 8th grade. So high school is not free. So if you think about it, if a girl goes in and she's going to miss 1 week of school every month in order to take care of her period, by the time she's finished her freshman year of school, she's missed 10 weeks or 2.5 months of school. So think back to your own high school. How would you do in your math class if you didn't attend for 2.5 months? Yeah. Or your history class or your science class or your English class or your history. And then you had to take that end of the year school test, which graded you for the year on everything you learned. You didn't fare very well.
I just love how everything's tied together too. Yeah. I love how everything's tied together because, you know, we've had a program here. It's called Preschool for Success, and it talks about like how quickly kids get behind. And you this is kind of that magnified, right? Yep. Like it's magnified to the 10th degree, and you go, how could they ever possibly stay on track?
Oh, it's not possible.
You just like the system works against you.
It creates a domino effect.
And it's a domino effect, exactly. So it's thank you so much for your dedication on this project. First of all, like I think it's really amazing, and you know we've had other guests on where it's been focused on women's sanitation and you know, and those things, and how much it impacts the culture of the community when you empower half of your population, if not more, to be able to get educated, to be able to have skills, be able to work, stay healthy, raise kids, raise educated kids, because again we go back to that generational component where if mom is educated, more than likely those kids are going to be educated, right? So it's systemic. It's like that's always the thing. Like whenever we have these type of interviews on the show, I'm like, everything is connected.
Yep.
Everything. And when you have massive imbalance in any component of it, in this case, it's, you know, sanitary ability to attend school or just having to walk 2 miles for water. I mean, that is such a disadvantage. It's not even fair. Like, you just look at that and you go, spending 4 hours of your day getting water.
And, you know, tying it back to the Rotary element, think about this for a minute. Here I am, this chick, born and raised in a little tiny town in the middle of the sand hills of Nebraska.
There's hills in Nebraska? Wait a second. Let's back that up for a second. There's hills in Nebraska?
If you don't believe, come out and help us during fencing season. I'll show you what hills are.
Sorry, go.
Who has some of her very good friends located in Zimbabwe now.
Mm-hmm.
And just this Rotary connection that allows us to be bigger than ourselves, to do more than you ever dreamed possible. And I feel so grateful and so blessed to be part of this wonderful organization.
How often do you go back, or how often are you going over there? Is it once a year? Do you go regularly?
I go regularly, at least once every other year, but most of the time once a year.
Once a year.
Okay.
You know, COVID kind of got us off track just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all just kind of erased those couple years in our mind, right? Like,
so
was it death by Zoom?
Have you been over there in the last year?
Yes, and we're going. We're going again this spring.
oh, wonderful.
And I can hardly wait. My bags could be packed tomorrow.
When you were there this last year, you know, having seen it in person, what is going on, you know, tell us more about actually getting to see the work when you visited, or you know, or do you just go ahead.
When we were there last time, the grant had not been approved.
Okay, so
It's been approved, and I just heard from our wonderful partner there, who's kind of leading it up, Sipo Moyo, who would be a great interview on your podcast, by the way.
Make the connection.
And so he said that the sewing machines have arrived. They are in the process now of teaching 110 teachers how to sew, who will teach in the different high schools and the different schools around the area, and their process of rolling it out. And so they're really excited for us to come to take us to the schools to meet more of the kids. So we're just so excited to see this in motion.
And you're a photographer, so you'll be able to share some of those
Yeah,
pictures
that's right.
with us.
That's
after?
right. I forgot about photographer too.
Half of my 22 pounds, or more than my 22 pounds, I can carry as my photography.
I can't wait to see some of it. Very cool.
You know, just to kind of get back to the partnership component, what has been your favorite partnership? You know, and you can say that you're representing Rotary. Your favorite partnership that you've had on this project, like what was maybe one of the ones that you didn't expect that came along?
One of the things that I did not expect that came along was a good friend, Tendai, who sat us down and explained how here is this just incredibly brilliant individual, master's in business degree and everything, who was raised in a very poor village environment, who had somebody who, an unknown person who paid for her to go to school, who's now giving back as much as possible. And how many of our partners in Zimbabwe and in our own here local club give back. And the other great partnership that has shown up on all of this is how many Interact clubs across our district did fundraisers for this particular project. I went, presented at their club, and they're very willing to talk about it. And they wanted to help their fellow high school, partners in another country stay in school. It was important to them.
That's a cool connection.
That's a great connection.
Yeah, you can see how that would.
And that surprised me. I don't know why it surprised me. It shouldn't have.
Yeah, no. After you said it, that makes a lot of sense.
Makes a ton of sense.
Peers, but yeah, I wouldn't have.
The other surprising element, and I got to brag for a minute, is our granddaughter took this project and expanded on it, and worked out how to do a composting material that could be put into a sanitary pad.
Sure.
And she developed it last year as an 8th grader and took it to the statewide STEM competition and presented on the project in Zimbabwe, and her take on the project, and came out with the first prize.
Wow.
Well, I mean, what a problem, right? Like, because part of the reason why they're not using the
one use
disposal.
One use.
Speaking from my experience, of course. Is that they don't decompose, correct? Like that's part of the problem.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Correct. And single-use plastic products in Zimbabwe are illegal.
Sure. Oh, brilliant.
And also they're very, very expensive. And when you think to buy a sanitary pad or a pair of panties is $4, and your yearly income is maybe $250 because your income is on subsistence farming.
Jeez.
is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy
Wow.
smokes. Well,
If that doesn't give perspective right there, in many ways.
We're just so honored to be part of this project, and I know my club just beams about it every time we do another Zoom with our partners there. They all just jump on. It's just great.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Deb,
So I
can you
encourage clubs out there to do this.
can you
Yeah.
believe that we're kind of bumping up against our time already? Like, isn't that amazing? I feel like we just started to talk to you.
We asked Deb to share stories, and she 100%
Oh, yes.
delivered on that request. So, and it's funny because I know, Deb, without a shadow of a doubt, that there are so many other stories. So I think that perhaps we just have you on again.
Yeah, we might have to after the trip.
Second time guest.
What?
So
One thing I always like to ask is how can people support, listeners support, or get involved, or is there way? Is it donations? Is it their clubs being interested in the project? Tell us more about how somebody may be inspired by this and want to support it.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is make those partnerships. Go to those zones meetings. Go to internationals. Go to your international conventions, and just sit down and talk to people. It'll be amazing. Here in Nebraska, for another really short thing, back in the late, about 10 years ago, we had a huge flood. It killed a lot of the cattle. It was just devastating to us around central Nebraska. And so we reached out to our international partners and wanted to purchase a food trailer to help feed a lot of these ranchers and everybody who were just devastated by this flood. And so all of a sudden we wrote a global grant project that was coming back to Nebraska.
Wow.
And we had partners from Mexico and India and Argentina and Brazil and Ecuador and Zimbabwe. And all these people that we had partnered with to go to their countries for project came back and said, we're listening, folks. We'll contribute to yours.
That is the first that I've ever heard of a global grant coming backwards.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. I'm sure it happens, but that's the first person that we've had on.
Out of all of our interviews, I haven't heard it.
Global grants require two partners, one from two different countries, to partner together. And that project can land in either of those two countries.
Huh. Well, there you go. There's the mic drop moment.
we're learning.
I'm so honored to be here again, and
Yes.
let me come back on next summer and tell you about everything we found.
That sounds good, Deb.
I'll
Yeah,
grab
we'll
one of our Zimbabwe partners to join us on that call.
Absolutely, and
That
we'll
sounds
definitely
great.
have an update on the project here.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more and see the pictures too.
Kelly,
Deb,
want to
thank
take us
you
out?
Yes, Deb, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you. As a reminder, you've been listening to Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. We'll be back.
All right, so
Deb,
we're
that was
paused.
awesome.
Thank you, guys. I hope I didn't share too much.
Oh,
No, that was
Up your game and show off your Rotary Club spirit. Did you know there's a one-stop shop for all things Rotary apparel? Russell Hampton Company is the world's largest provider of licensed Rotary branded merchandise. From apparel like hats, jackets, and shirts to banners, tents, and awards, they have it all. And most things are customizable. And they can handle orders of all sizes. Russell Hampton Company also has deep connections to Rotary. In 1920, the company founder was part of Rotary Club No. 1 in downtown Chicago. Russell Hampton Company models their business on the Rotary 4-way test and gives back 10% of all purchases to Rotary, supporting its global work. So the next time you and your club are out on a service project, arrive with the right swag from Russell Hampton Company to promote your club and Rotary. Even non-Rotarians will want some of your cool hats, shirts, and jackets. Learn more at bestclubsupplies.com. That's bestclubsupplies.com.
Of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Join Rotary to serve your community and the world with honesty, fairness, and goodwill. Our 4-way test guides our actions every day. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? These values underpin our commitment to making a positive impact on the world. Learn more about your local Rotary Club and stop searching and start serving. And the song you're hearing now was performed by Rotary Club of Dar es Salaam, Oyster Bay.
Rotary is a place for all community-minded people who want to serve their areas with the support of an international organization. Join Rotary to find service. Join Rotary to find inclusion. Join Rotary to find leadership. Join Rotary to find fun. Join Rotary to find friendship. Join Rotary to find a better version of the world. Find a Rotary Club near you at Rotary.org and click on Club Finder. There is a club out there for everyone. Find your fit with Rotary. Rotary.org.
Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and
Russell Hampton Company, #1 printer for Rotary in the country. They can help you with your business printing. They can print swag. If you're watching us, you can check out some of the swag they gave us. So we got some mugs, some tumblers, hat, sweet cutting board.
And we're so grateful for their sponsorship. Thank you so much. And if you are looking at potentially sponsoring or would like to sponsor the show, that's how we continue to survive and create recordings for you. Go ahead and contact us.
Have amazing.
What? Go ahead and contact us at. Go ahead and contact us at searchingforserviceshow@gmail.com.
You can.
I thought you were wrapping up there. I'm sorry.
You can also, if you like this show and you're listening, you want to hear past shows, you can find us on your favorite podcasting platform.
Oh, yeah. We love 5-star reviews.
Yep. Follow. You can also find us on our YouTube channel, Searching for Service.
I tell you what, that's a really cool platform to watch us on as well. That's how I consume the show.
Yep.
After the fact is I like to watch it and, critique our performance. And I also, it's so funny though, like when you're interviewing, you don't necessarily pick up everything because you're thinking of how to,
keep the conversation going
and stuff. Yeah. And it's nice to go back and go, oh yeah, we did talk about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of talking about, we had an amazing guest.
Now I could share.
Yeah, great guest today.
Why we love having sponsorships so that we can have amazing guests like Deb McCaslin. So Deb, as many of you guys know who had listened, she really was a part of piloting a program called Girls Empowerment Rotary. It's a project that was in Zimbabwe, and we learned a lot about Deb. She's a woman of many hats, has had many titles, and it was fun to just kind of hear, her genesis with Rotary and then, her occupations throughout those years as well. But really her passion project is this girls' empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really still, getting off the ground and how they pivoted, after COVID and really listened on to the people there and how they could serve them, and it was and provide a lasting skill on top of funding and equipment.
I thought that was my single favorite thing about the interview is when she mentioned, we kind of went off what our message was and just essentially filled the needs of what the local people needed at that time, which was sounded like food and water and shelter and things like that, where, that's when they had the outcomes of the people that they were trying to serve as their core pillar versus maybe whatever the project was. Sometimes we get into that mentality of, no, this is the way we can serve them, and this is the only way. And so it just spoke to that fluidity, to understanding that the end user was the most important person to reach. And that was definitely the thing that struck me the most. How about you, Chad?
Well, and I thought that, as they're rolling it out now, the impact when she was talking about how many weeks or days in a school year women or, teenage women were not able to go to school.
Yeah.
and you could just realize how quickly you're behind in solving, the menstrual. Kelly, help me. Menstrual,
Like a menstrual pad?
yes,
Yeah.
reusable.
Yeah.
Having a
Reusable.
reusable,
and washable.
yeah, reusable and washable. Solving that and how much it will impact how much they can learn and stay
Yeah.
caught up in school, and then
Yeah, that-
also be able to use it as a business tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that focus really is the education, right?
Yep.
So, like, how can we support women to be a part of the education system? Because in missing that amount of time, because I think she had mentioned that there was a certain amount of years where it was free, no cost, but then like the last couple of years of the education system, you're required to pay.
Yep.
So if you're missing all of these, weeks and weeks and weeks on end, and then you're not able to properly test out in specific areas, and then it's kind of like a domino effect.
You got to imagine a lot just don't go.
Exactly.
Right.
And you
Right.
you can't help but notice the rhymes that we continue to hear in the different people that we have on the show about how water helps, about how sanitation helps, about how education helps. You see what the main girders of like civilization and community are. And it's amazing when one of those pillars are just not there or so difficult to have that it all just wobbles and falls down. And it's because it's just it's unsustainable.
Yep.
And it's always amazing to me, like as we're having more and more guests on that talk about, bringing new types of services to these communities that don't have them, and how much it changes, much it changes everything.
Yeah.
So she was an amazing guest, and
She really was.
I was blown away by her.
Yeah, she was great. And I know they're going to share this down. It was our first guest from Nebraska, and so maybe we'll gain some more listeners down in Nebraska now. 'Cause
Nebraska,
I know
all right.
They're sharing it
Love
down
it.
there, yeah.
I promise
So-
not to make any more jokes about Nebraska. I'm sorry during the interview. I think I make a couple.
But yeah, she was a great guest.
Yeah. Well, we want to just take a moment to thank our listeners. It's always nice to have you guys tune in, and we look forward to having you guys on next week. As a reminder, I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. See you
Time to
next
stop
week.
searching.
And start serving.
See you next week.